Eric Bakker, the Naturopath. Thanks for coming back. People ask me lots of questions, as you can imagine. And many people ask me, this question. They say, look, I've got a Candida problem in my gut. And other people will, what am I going to do about this Candida problem? And then other people say, I've got a Hyphae problem in the gut. What am I going to do there? So I think people get confused. But Candida albicans can change. It shapeshifts. Okay, there's a particular protein that's been found now, and I think it's got to do with an aberration or change in how a lot of the mitochondrial cells work in human beings. So let me just explain. The mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. They're very tiny. There's lots and lots of them inside the cell, and they perform various functions in the cell, but basically they give the body energy. Certain cells, certain body parts have way more mitochondria than others. The heart, for example, tends to have a lot of mitochondria in it to keep that heart muscle, really active and going. There's a protein found called MDIVA-1. Okay, this is a mitochondrial protein they found that can actually inhibit the change from the Candida into its Hyphae or string-like form. Right? So I from my understanding, which is reasonable with Candida, is that not everybody has the Hyphae problem. Some people accelerate from the bud form, the Candida form, in the Hyphae very quickly. If we look at hospital admissions, from what I've read online, there are hundreds of millions of people every year go to hospital, but there's been, in the last several years, there's been up to 200 or more % increase in people who are passing away from yeast infections in hospital. In my opinion, it's got to do with the heavy-handed drug procedures that occur in hospitals, and I don't think hospitals usually provide also the best kind of nutrition for people. So, there could be some of those sort of factors coming into play, and stress and lots of other factors. But the Hyphae form is a deadly form because it can really seep through different body tissues, get into different parts of the body, well away from the gastrointestinal tract. But researchers now also feel it could be linked to many diseases, cancers and all sorts of things. So, but the jury's still out. But what's the best diet for a person with a Hyphae problem as opposed to the normal Candida problem? Well, I've seen people, as you can imagine, in seriously bad yeast infection states, all kinds of presentations. But when you get to a very serious state, the diet becomes even more precarious. You just need to be careful, very, very careful. So when you've got a seriously full-blown Candida problem, the diet can be very hot to handle. So often people can be on quite a limited kind of a diet approach. So you need to spend even more time being careful with the kind of fruits you eat, and make sure you keep away from artificial sugars. Lots of people have this idea that artificial sugars are fine when you have a bad yeast infection, but it's not true. All right? So, and not necessarily true, but just be careful. It's about serious caution, because a seriously bad Candida problem can can push you into the emergency room and even into intensive care. I have seen some seriously ill patients go that way very fast, particularly when they threw caution to the wind and had a sort of a good diet but didn't pay that much attention to it. So probiotics play quite a good role in this particular case too. You'll find when a person has got advanced Candida that even just basic Lactobacillus acidophilus can have a very nice effect on those people, on their digestive system. I would keep the diet very simple. I'd keep it probably green leafy vegetables, a few primary proteins. We could look at fish or chicken or egg, and just be very cautious of the type of fruits that you eat. Right? I'm usually reasonably lenient with berries and kiwi fruits and avocados and those foods, but I would be very cautious if it was a seriously bad yeast infection. And as time goes by, you'll find that the gut improves. You can back off a bit and allow a more experimentation in the diet. But in the early stages, a lot of caution is required. Stick to a basic diet, a very basic one, and also be very careful what you read online, because you're going to get a lot of weird information online on Hyphae diets and all sorts of weird stuff. Okay, don't fall for it. Basic stuff's the best. The more you narrow the diet down to a few items, the more you'll be able to work out what you can and tolerate in terms of your ability to eat that, and then expand on that as required. Okay, thanks for tuning in.